Retro.
And welcome everybody to another Pinky in the Brain episode of the Animaniacast.
Using my equation, these headsets will allow us to visit the virtual future, when one of my plans has succeeded and I am ruling the world.
Which plan, Brain?
Well, they're all so feasible. A realization, Pinky.
Whoa! Where? Is it on me? Get it off! Get it off!
And welcome everybody once again to another episode of the Animaniacast. This is the podcast that is dedicated to the animated series Animaniacs, as well as other shows in the Rugerverse such as Pinky the Brain, Tiny Toon Adventures, and Freakazoid. And today, you're probably asking yourself, what are we doing tonight? And the answer is very simple. We're going to try to talk about another episode of Pinky and the Brain. That's right, we're going to talk about all the cultural references and stuff like that we can find. And of course, in the end, we're going to give this episode of Pinky and the Brain a water tower rating. I am Joey, and joining me once again is my brother Nathan.
Same to you, buddy.
Same to you, buddy. And joining us, of course, across the country in Georgia, it's Kelly.
You know, I think this Jurassic Park book might make a good movie.
Maybe. Well, yes, today we are talking about an episode of Pinky the Brain that was once again submitted to us by our patrons over at patreon.com/Animaniacast. And this one is This Old Mouse. This Old Mouse, which I forget, was this the 8th? I want to say it was the 8th episode of the 3rd season, but I totally don't have that off the thing. What do we have in our notes?
7.
7?
It was the 7th episode of the 3rd season.
Thank you. 7th episode.
32 overall.
Yes, This Old Mouse. It's where, Pinky and the Brain, they find out what's going to happen in the future. Ooh, with virtual reality. Well, before we get into our discussion, why don't we, if someone were to ask you about this episode of Pinky and the Brain, to describe it in just a few words, what would you tell them, Nathan?
It's like Singing in the Rain meets Tron.
Sure. And what about you, Kelly?
It has skiing and a Spielberg reference.
It does. It certainly does. So those are at least one of those two things I know is good with Kelly. So we'll find out about the other one. But Nathan, before we talk about today's episode, why don't you tell us, when did this episode first premiere?
Okay, I am so glad you asked, because this day you will definitely remember, because it was a Thursday, and you always remember Thursdays, Joey. This was Thursday. Was in September. It was on the 18th, and it was in 1997. There was some cool things that happened on this day that you probably remember. I don't know. Sevi Balestros and Nick Faldo were elected to World Golf Hall of Fame.
Another golf reference. What's the Animaniacast without golf trivia?
Exactly. Ted Turner.
Yes.
Not
personally. Of him, I'm sure. Yeah. Well, he gave $1 billion to the United Nations to create the public charity, the United Nations Foundation. And Wales, they voted on a referendum on their autonomy, and they voted yes. At 50.3%, it passed.
Well, I'm glad that whales all throughout the ocean are now autonomous.
Yes, all the Welsh.
Whales voted on their own autonomy?
Yeah, the voters in the Wales. So whatever voters in Wales did that. So
yeah, wow. There's Jonah.
You're talking about not the country, but the yeah, it is a country, isn't it?
No, it's a bunch of people.
Talking about Jonah and Pinocchio.
A bunch of people.
All the voters in Wales.
Yeah, exactly. They voted and they said we're autonomous.
Yeah, I'm surprised you don't remember when this happened, Kelly. This was big news. September 18th, 1997.
It was Jonah, Pinocchio, a bunch of penguins, some
Geppetto,
seals.
and
they get voting rights as well.
I have no clue what's going on right now.
Well, very good facts right there.
Wales is not a country. Wales is a part of England, right? Just out of curiosity. I always get that confused.
It's all English to me. It's all the same. Yeah.
Not where I excel at in Jeopardy.
Does Yakko say it in the nations of the world? I don't think so.
Nobody doesn't say a lot of them now.
That's true.
Well. You can take this out. Take this out. I'm so confused.
Well, let's go ahead. Let's not stop being so confused about the whale, politics. And let's get right into our discussion about today's episode of Pinky and the Brain.
This is Maurice LaMarche, the voice of the brain, and you are listening to the Animani Cast.
This Old Mouse was written by Bill Canterbury, and it was directed by Charles Visser. And Nathan, why don't you tell us what happens in the first third, I should say, I guess, of This Old Mouse?
Okay, so we start off, there's some sort of award ceremonies happening, and Pinky and the Brain come out of a stretch limo kind of thing. And
that's right. We should point out this is a cold opening, and apparently
this is
the only cold opening that the series ever had. Apparently.
Oh wow. Brain is announcing that no longer will there be this slapstick humor and all that. We're only going to be doing dignified thing, just dignity. That's what matters. And then Pinky steps on the back of his coattail and he falls and trips and everyone laughs. Ha ha.
No more cheap slapstick gags. From now on, only dignity.
Huh? Dignity hurts.
And then we cut to the actual theme song, which we all know. And this episode, Brain has created a virtual reality transcyclotron, I think is what it's called. And it's capable of not just playing video games, but also seeing the future. So I don't know if Pinky is going to be an ice skater in the future, because that's how it started off.
Well, that was the video game part.
Oh, that was the video game. Okay,
which he was dressed up as like a matador,
a matador
on the ice. Very nice.
But so then they Brains tells him that he found a formula for all of exist. He got it down to one letter, the letter E. No longer does E equals MC squared. Just the letter E is a formula that encompasses everything. And he's going to find out how he's going to rule the world and what it's going to be like in the future when he's ruling the world. And I mean, he knows already the way that he's going to rule the world, I guess, is using this virtual reality thing, because it's going to tell him how to do it kind of thing. It's kind of very meta.
Yeah.
But he's like, oh, I wonder where I'm going to be, like the White House or the Kremlin. But he goes into virtual reality and he's still in the Acme Labs, and he looks over and Pinky and the Brain are both very old men. They're like 4 years old, says Pinky. And Brain is still trying to take over the world. He has no memories. He keeps forgetting what he's saying, and he can't remember Pinky's name sometimes. They can't even remember each other's names. They don't remember anything.
But I don't understand. Where are my minions, my cabinet, my jewel-encrusted cummerbund?
What are we going to do tonight? Brain?
Same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to do that same. You're trying to trick me again, aren't you?
Brain is realizing that he still hasn't taken over the world in the future, and that's the end of the first third of the episode, actually.
Yes.
So
there's a lot of references in this. First of
all,
I
got one.
Well, what's that one, Kelly?
So when they were doing the equals MC squares, you could hear the Acme song in the background.
Very good. Excellent. Yes, yeah. The Acme
good
song.
Good answer.
Good answer.
Whenever we're feeling blue, here's what we always do. When your face is long, sing the Acme song. You'll feel so fresh and new. There's the A that's first, there's a C that's next, there's an M, you're almost done. There's the E, it's last, now spell it out, A-C-M-E, that's fun.
Now backwards! There's the E that's last, there's the M, it's next, there's C, you're almost done. There's the A, it's first, what's first is last, E-M-C-A, we're done.
I have reduced all of history to a simple equation.
Like E equals MC little 2?
Even simpler. Just E.
Yes, the Acme song is played, which Wikipedia editors, there's a lot of stuff that we've had to come up with ourselves on this one.
The Pinky and the Brain ones, the wiki on that just seems to be dead. I don't think anyone does it.
No one wants to
that.
do it. Come on,
it's
folks.
so sad because like there's
so
so
much.
many references in these things, and I'm just like,
they're missing out on all these jokes.
And there's lots of misspelling. I guess I should misspell the things that they had misspelled in our notes so that.
Well, yes, the Acme song playing as soon as the Brain was talking about E equals MC squared and everything, and then Richard Stone had started playing dun 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 dun. I was like, oh my gosh, that's an Animaniacs reference, and that's so fun to know that we got that. So
That's
excellent.
from the very first episode, isn't it?
No, it's the
second
one. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, it's pulling from early Animaniacs stuff though, still, so which is very cool. Well, anyway, I guess we should talk first about the very opening where they're trying to be, saying we're not going to do slapstick humor anymore. I think it was a reference to the place they're walking into is called Impetigo, which I think is supposed to be like a play on the word spago and impetigo, which is a skin disease.
That's also been in some of the previous Animaniacs episodes, I think.
Okay, so
I think I've seen it in the background.
I wonder if they use some of these backgrounds over sometimes, but I think they Rob Paulson as the announcer references that the show had won Emmys, so it's kind of nice, a self-referential thing to start off the show. Talk about their Emmys, so very cool. But
I thought it was a reference to Singing in the Rain, maybe because he's saying dignity.
Yeah,
I just the way that they're dressed too.
That could be a Singing in the Rain reference, yeah, because Singing in the Rain opens up with that
an award
whole
ceremony, and
starts
they're kind of
talking
dressed
about dignity.
similar. That's what I like immediately when I saw that. I was like, "Oh, this is Singing in the Rain."
I think you're right. I think, yeah.
I wrote that in the notes, but I mean, I was like,
I think it's a good connection at the very least.
And there is another connection to it later in the
exactly.
episode. So.
Well, Dora, I've had one motto which I've always lived by: dignity. Always dignity.
From now on, only dignity.
There's an Oksana Bayul thing. Pinky says Oksana. It talks about Oksana
Bayul.
Bayul.
They introduce Pinky as Pinky Bayul, which I think is a reference to Oksana Bayul.
Oksana Bayul, the skater.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay. I don't know why he's dressed as a matador though.
Yeah, neither do I.
But
I think it's because it's Pinky, and that
Yeah, I'm like, oh, and is there like a hockey team with crabs or something? Because like there was a crabs versus skeleton.
Oksana Bayul, she was an Olympic
figure skater.
Yeah, and she was big in the late '90s. Like everyone knew who she was.
Yeah.
So a lot of these things I think get lost to time. I think kids today watching it would have zero idea who.
Oh yeah, I have no.
I don't know the names of any current figure skaters. Like back in during this time, I could tell you some of the the competitors of some of the other sports too, but now it's like, oh, the Olympics was on, I missed it. I mean, because they put it on weird times, and it used to completely dominate the news cycle when they were on for the
of course, with Nancy Kerrigan and Tanya Harding and everything, that was a huge figure skating. So I don't know what happened to figure skating, how that dropped off the map in the last 20 years.
But everything kind of did. I mean, it used to be a much bigger thing.
Yeah. Internet. I blame it all on the internet. Anyway.
Well, because now people like stream it and watch it.
Yeah, it's not as much of it's not an event anymore. It's like when you had, with everything being split up so much that it's hard to make such a big deal about it. They mentioned Twitty City.
It's set to show us where we'll be ruling in the future. I wonder where my future headquarters will be.
Twitty City? What? It's the hip Dollywood.
which I never heard about Twitty City until I had to look it up. Kelly, any familiarity with Twitty City?
I had no idea.
Well, that's Conway Twitty, country singer Conway Twitty.
Why would I know that?
Because you're in Atlanta and the Georgia.
No. I don't do this. I don't do the country music.
Okay, I'm just saying it's like more. It's like when I think of like country, I'm thinking like I'm thinking the southeast of the United States.
I don't know country music.
Conway Twitty, he had this whole like area where he had his kind of mansion, and then he had adjoining kind of community houses, sort of in that. Reminds me of the kind of, I just saw The Righteous Gemstones, and it sounds like a very similar situation where the main guy, Conway Twitty, had his big house so people could come and visit him, and they had a gift shop and everything. And then his sons and daughters all had their own individual houses in this kind of place as well. Wow. After he died, I was looking at the Wikipedia or some website, and I guess there was a big thing because his third wife and his children got into this big fight. Very interesting stuff. So everyone over at Twitty City, boy, good stuff online about that rabbit hole. But I've never been to Dollywood either. But I heard it's a lot of fun. That's
and Dolly Parton's cool. I mean, yeah. I do know about her. She's cool.
Much cooler than Conway Twitty, I think. So anyway, so Wheeler and Woosley was mentioned.
You're trying to trick me, aren't you?
About what?
Well, I have no idea. Pinky, right?
You're asking me?
Ooh, my hip.
North! It's like watching the best of Wheeler and Woolsey.
When they're looking at this virtual reality, which, by the way, virtual reality, I think a lot of people, they think about, all the headsets and stuff that people have today. And there's a great part where Pinky and the Brain are kind of running in virtual reality, and they're running in place. And that really did seem like something you would see today with people playing online gaming and a virtual reality thing.
Yeah.
But when they see themselves in the future, Pinky says it's like Wheeler and Woosley, like the best ofs or something. And I had to look that up.
I have no idea.
It's a vaudeville act. They were active from 1920 to 1937.
Whoa. Obscure.
Very obscure. I looked at a few clips of them on YouTube, and they were mildly amusing. You could tell that this is very much like, yes, a vaudeville act where you have two people they talk to each other, and one's the guy who's a know-it-all, the other one's the nice guy, and they do silly things, and there you go.
Should we mention the Jurassic Park reference? Because
I
think that was in this first segment, right?
It was.
I brought some snacks for our trip and some light reading. Jurassic Park. This would make a great movie.
It was so there that I didn't mention, but yes, Kelly, what is
Jurassic Park?
What is Jurassic Park, and why is this important?
Well, first it was a book by Michael Crichton,
yes.
And then it became a movie by Steven Spielberg. And you might have seen it. It was kind of popular back in the day. I don't know so much about now, but
was it a good movie or a bad movie?
It was a good movie.
Oh, okay.
Actually, and the fandom is actually pretty rabid. Actually, they don't even let me join hardly because I'll follow people on Twitter and they won't follow me back just because I don't talk about Jurassic World all the time. But
yeah.
It's like, but Jurassic Park. That's where my heart is. I love that movie.
I was very much the same mind of Pinky because I did read the book before the movie had come out, and I thought, wow, this would be a great movie. And then I literally read in I forget if it was in middle school, and it was in one of those little magazines or something, and it said it's coming out soon. And I started going up to every person at middle school and it's like, you guys are going to have to watch this movie. The book was so good. And it was a good
I did a book report on it in high school. I'd already seen the movie. And so I read the book about 3 times by that point. And it was supposed to be a 5-page paper. And mine ended up being about 12 pages because I went all into chaos theory and everything.
Yes.
Because, as you do. And so I got 100. And then I made I had I had a month to work on the project, and then like a day before it was due, I said, Dad, I have an idea. So I gave him a list of stuff to get at Home Depot, and we made a Jurassic Park diorama in like a day.
Whoa.
And I designed it, and he cut all the wood and everything, and we painted it. And it's pretty cool for, the one-day project. I got 100 on it. It's awesome.
Michael Crichton had a way of writing books that made you feel smarter after reading them.
Oh, yeah.
Because he wrote a lot of like medical jargon and there's a lot of charts and everything.
A lot of programming language there too, where you're like, oh yeah, I know how this program works.
Yeah, for some reason it made it, even though you look at it now, you're like, what?
And he did suspense really well.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, Jurassic Park after reading Jurassic Park, I had to read every Michael Crichton book I could find.
Same. And then be so disappointed by the film adaptations like Sphere.
Yes.
Awful.
Yeah.
So bad.
Not even Queen Latifah could save that movie.
But the book was amazing.
Well, hopefully they'll remake some of those within the next few years, as they reboot.
I don't know. I don't know if I want them to remake them, but just go back and read the book again.
Just read the book, yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get to the second part. Wait, no, I shouldn't get to the second part yet because we got to talk about what kinds of things stood out for you. I mean, we talked about Jurassic Park, but
we haven't done this in a long time.
Yeah, exactly. We're rusty on this stuff. But what's some of the things in this first third that kind of stood out that you thought were funny? Kelly, I mean, we talked about Jurassic Park. Anything else that you saw that you were like, haha, that's good?
Well, I already mentioned the Acme song.
Yes.
So I think I've mentioned everything that really stood out to me.
Okay, Nathan, what about you?
Are you trying to trick me?
You're trying to trick me again. I think that's a reference to something, and I just don't know what it is. But the way that he's saying that, I'm like, that sounds like a bit like an actor said that or something.
I don't know. I really like the Brain writing down his own joke and then Pinky doing the same thing.
Pinky, I think your cerebrospinal fluid is running a few quarts low. Few quarts low.
Well, same to you. Well, same to you.
That was very good.
I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, I don't know. It's a solid opening. I like Brain's idea of ruling the world, just to show everyone him ruling the world, and like, look how he'll be. Yeah. I like that it's not a bit like malicious or it's not malevolent. It's like he's trying to. He thinks that people will love him as the ruler, kind of thing. Like
exactly. He wants to make the world a better place through his rule and destroy it.
When I look up, you're trying to trick me. It brings up the clip from Princess Bride, where Wesley's like, "You're trying to trick me into giving away."
I doubt that that's what it is, but it could.
But that's
a great movie.
He's like, it won't work, but that's what comes up. So
maybe I also did feel sorry for the old Pinky and the Brain. Just how many operations apparently like Pinky's teeth are falling out and.
I mean,
he has a big gash. Yeah, he's a big scar.
This must be like a year later if they're 4 years later. This is the third year.
I think at some point they said they're 2. I want to say in a different episode.
What is the average lifespan of a mouse?
Well, in cartoon land, it's at least 20 or 30 years, apparently. But
I'm just saying this is the third season, so you would think there'd be at least.
Time goes slower in this timeline.
Each episode is only a 1 day, right?
Yeah,
so this is only 30 days after the first episode.
Exactly. We'll go with that. And then they put themselves into cryogenics freezing or something for the reboot. Well, anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the middle part. So we come back from break and the Brain is still watching, like, I guess the recording of himself saying same thing we do every night, Pinky, on a loop. And he's just really just down in the dumps. He's realizing his life is going nowhere. He's going to be stuck in the same place in the same lab. And he's having a midlife crisis. There's this really cool part where the Brain says all material possessions mean nothing anymore. So he has this big yard sale, I guess, essentially, or maybe just puts his stuff out on the curb for anybody to take. And we get to see a lot of cool things that have been featured in previous episodes. So some of the more notable things are we have the magnet that they use at the very beginning of Animaniacs to zap Saturn or whatever it is and hits
crush
the Earth, crushes Earth. Yeah. And we also have Noodle Noggin from the Christmas episode that hypnotizes people. Also the hands that he uses to type with.
He's used those in that Christmas episode and some other episodes.
And the Jip Parody suit.
Exactly. The
Winbig.
The Winbig suit is there. And let's see, we also have the globe that, is also featured in the opening credits, I believe, where the brain is there. So, and there's even like some sort of machine that kind of looks similar to the machine that's in The Brain's Apprentice, but I think it might have been the machine that could have just been used to zap Pinky the Brain and give them when they were genetically spliced. I'm not quite sure, but there's a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah. I was wondering if the shoe that Pinky comes out is a specific thing, but I just have to watch all these episodes.
Yeah, exactly. So, folks, if you know of any of the things that we've missed out, let us know, and we'll be happy to let other folks know about the stuff we missed. But it was cool to see those right there. There's another musical reference because the brain gets really drunk, and of course, the only thing he has to drink is water. So it starts playing the typical Looney Tunes drunk song of How Dry I Am, and the brain is drunk. Pinky gives him an intervention and pulls him away, and he sings a little bit of a song called Just Say Narf. And he does a lot of bits in this which are right from Singing in the Rain, like hitting the brain with his hat, which is right from the movie where he's, singing God. What now? Now I don't even know the name of the.
Gotta Dance.
Not Gotta Dance.
Oh.
It's
Make 'em laugh.
Make 'em laugh. Yeah. Make 'em laugh. Make 'em laugh. And in that song when he says, "Don't you know all the world wants to laugh," he starts hitting Gene Kelly with his hat, and Pinky does the same thing in this one, which was cool to see. Also does a cartwheel kind of move, which is also in Singing in the Rain as well. So that was neat to see.
Just say Narv, just say Narv. Don't you know to be glad? Just say Narv. Every day is a joy and so marvelous. Don't ruin it with plenty of fuss. Just say Zord, just say Point. Go, Brain! Go find your smile!
Maybe Pinky's right. Just say Narf. Yes, forget the world and just, as today's kids say, have fun.
Pinky goes and says, "Find your smile," which I thought, okay, what's that referencing? And apparently it's referencing perhaps City Slickers? Maybe, because, well, in that movie, Billy Crystal has a midlife crisis, and his wife tells him to go find his smile before he goes off to go to the West. So I think, and that's around the same time period, so I think it's a good chance that it could be referencing that.
Sure, he had just seen the movie and wrote it in the script.
Exactly.
But no, it's that came out in 1991. This episode was in 97 even. So
so I think it's close enough to say that it might be what they were doing. Yeah. Anyway, it goes into this whole the brain starts. He just has a complete midlife crisis at this point. He gets a toupee. He gets into a car and starts driving it recklessly throughout the city. He was like a rudderless drifty thing. He's also wearing a wig that he was told is called the Clooney, but it turns out it was a Schwimmer, which I had no idea that George Clooney or David Schwimmer were accused of having toupees, but
they were?
Is that
I didn't know that either.
Okay, I was wondering what that reference was.
Apparently, I don't know, because or just the hairstyles themselves is what he was probably looking for. I guess kind of like people back then would get the Rachel, right? So maybe this is called that might be what it is. Back then, you had the Rachel haircut. People said, "I'm getting the Rachel," so maybe so that's the Clooney toupee. Instead, it was the David Schwimmer, the Schwimmer.
And so I decided to go for the gusto and start living life in the fast lane. But I was only fooling myself. I was drifting, rudderless, like some kind of rudderless, drifty thing.
What are you thinking, Brain? Brain?
Was that whole segment a reference to something? This whole talking to this woman, and
this is what I could not figure out, and
it was too obscure.
It was way obscure. This is referencing a movie, and it almost felt like, am I watching Wall Street, which I haven't seen? It almost felt kind of like American Psycho or something, where he felt kind of like this 80s mogul kind of
not
thing.
An 80s, yeah, it definitely wasn't American Psycho.
But it
was almost like a noir kind of feel to it too.
Yeah,
yes, it changed in tone.
Yeah, when he's in bed with this, I guess it's the cheerleader or something like that, and she goes, "What are you thinking about, Brain?" And then goes up and does this really cool pan and everything. I'm like, this is referencing a movie
with the ceiling fan.
Yeah, it's like the ceiling fan. Like
some noir movie.
It was so specific that I was like, whoever this is a joke for one person in the world, and they love this joke, but 99% of people are just like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
The shot with the ceiling fan though actually reminds me of the dead monkey in Raiders of the Lost Ark when they go bad dates.
Bad dates.
And the camera pans up and you kind of
you see the monkey. Well, instead of seeing a monkey, he goes to Mr. Sultana, who is voiced by our friend Paul Rugg.
I could tell that.
Yeah.
I knew that was Paul.
Yeah, it was a great, his voice of, very interesting, all that kind of stuff.
It's the Handman.
Yeah, it's I love that voice. It was kind of like Manny the Uncanny a little bit, but a little more gruff.
So, how is the things with you and Mrs. Feldman?
Mrs. Feldman? Oh, yes, fine. Mr. Sultana, I think I'm having a midlife crisis.
Mr. Sultana, this is his second appearance, actually. He actually appeared in an episode about... I actually watched the episode, too.
I thought it was even his third appearance.
Oh, might even be his third. I think maybe his third. Okay, well, at this point...
he was in season 2 and season 3 already.
Well, I watched at least one of them with Mr. Sultana, and I've got to see that he is a character on the show that is a hoarder, very disgusting person. And in the episode I saw, it deals with Pinky the Brain trying to get a package that was misdelivered to their neighbor, Mr. Sultana. And so they were trying to get this rubber nub. It was a very amusing episode. Not as good as this one, but again, very nice to see Paul Rugg doing these voices because he's a funny guy.
Long ago, Sultana, very big talent agent. Perhaps you'll hear of my best clients, Siegfried and Rai?
Yes, I've seen their magic.
Magic? What magic? Anywho, I don't like show business, too many phonies, so I go see career counselor. He tell me what I should be.
Which is what?
Paranoid recluse. The pay is not so good, but the hours are very flexible. Career counselor, very smart, very smart. Career counselor. Career counselor. Career counselor. Career counselor.
That's pretty much it, I believe, right? He goes off to the career counselor. And what did you guys think about this middle part? Kelly, anything that stood out for you?
I thought it was cute. I liked it when they were playing pool and Mr. Sultana gives Brain a little pencil. He says, maybe this, you can use this. And, but then he's trying to shoot pool with the little square, the cube
chalk
thing. Yeah, the chalk thing is on the end of his cue stick. That's what it's called, right? Cue
yeah.
Stick. And then, he hits the ball with it and it goes flying because you're not supposed to do that.
Yes.
I mean, I've used to play some pool at my aunt's house. I know a little bit about it. So I thought that was neat. And, the noir bit, it shifted in tone a lot, but it seemed to work. It really sort of showcased his, despair.
Yeah. I love that part with him shooting pool and he couldn't get the ball very far with his pencil. He goes, "Oh, the table must be uneven."
He's so friendly.
Yeah, Mr. Sultana is a very friendly guy.
Very friendly guy.
Nathan, what about you?
I liked that Brain didn't know what they wanted to do tomorrow night. He got ready, and then Pinky had some ideas of pencils that taste like bacon. Or bacon that
tastes like pencils?
Or pencils that taste like pencils, and he's running out of ideas. I think the next one was probably going to be bacon that tastes like bacon, but who knows? It was fun seeing. I thought that Brain was going to start singing Pinky in the Brain when he was in the rain, because you know how Pinky in the Brain is based off the music of Singing in the Rain.
Oh, yeah.
They was going to Pinky in the Brain.
Just Pinky in the brain. How it all comes back
so
together.
Meta. Yeah,
the whole thing started with Singing in the Rain.
Yeah,
crazy.
Exactly. So that's why I was like, oh my gosh, it's gonna do it. But no, it didn't. But that's always a trivia that I like to think about, is the original theme to Pinky in the Brain was going to be that.
If they had the rights, they would have done it, which would be very different
I think
tone.
This is better. Yeah, I think it's a much more exciting tone to it. But.
Well, let's go and get to the third part. Kelly, what happens in our finale of This Old Mouse? Which I should also point out that This Old Mouse is not a reference, ladies and gentlemen, to This Old Man, the nursery rhyme. I believe it's a reference to This Old House, which was, I believe it still is a show.
Bob Vila.
With Bob Vila, yeah. Bob Vila, it was big in the 90s also. It was on PBS.
Can it be both?
I guess it could be both, but I mean, when I saw This Old Mouse, I was like, oh, like This Old House. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's not This Old Man.
Because it rhymes with...
I thought of This Old Man song.
Real, okay, so maybe it's a little bit of both, but I believe...
I thought of This Old House, but I sang it to this tune of This Old Man. So
yeah.
This old house.
Double, it's a double reference. Okay, it's both. Okay, what happens in the finale of This Old Mouse?
Well, Brain takes Mr. Sultana's advice and he goes and sees a career counselor. And the career counselor's, asking about his intelligence and, computing all this information. And he's like, your career is, and Brain gets really excited. He's like, ski instructor. And Brain looks at him like, what? And so he tells Pinky that he's going to leave and start his new life as a ski instructor. And Pinky's getting ready to go. And he's like, no, you don't understand. This is, me. I'm going to do it sans you, Pinky. And so Pinky's kind of upset. And Brain goes off and starts skiing. And he looks like he's having fun. And you see him with some people at a class, and he goes into like this really lengthy technical explanation of what he's going to teach them. And one of the guys says, so you mean like stopping? And he's like, yeah, but when I say it, it sounds a lot cooler or something.
Or groovy.
Groovy.
Today I will instruct you in the mastery of inertia reestablishment, utilizing weight distribution through metatarsal manipulation.
You mean stopping?
Yes, but when I say it, it sounds groovy.
So, he's skiing down the mountain, and they, I forgot what name he's going by.
Jean-Claude Brain.
Right, okay, yeah.
Instead of Jean-Claude Van Damme. Again, another reference that kids today would not know who Jean-Claude Van Damme is, but...
They might.
Maybe.
So, girls are skiing past him, and they're giggling, and, he seems pretty popular and really enjoying it. And there's some great animation of him just skiing and then kind of swooshing by the camera and spraying the camera, it looks like, with snow. And he's living his best life. And so he gets to the bottom of the mountain at one point, and he's like, this is it, loud outdoors, fresh air. I don't know how I live so long without it. And then he goes, Ricola! And which I don't know if they'll show those commercials, but they used to.
Yeah.
And they showed them during Jeopardy a lot, actually.
Yes. That's
probably
a lot of elderly people needed their cough drops. So
not just elderly people watch Jeopardy.
That's true. But we've seen the movies of the nursing homes. Come on. We all know it's a popular show with
my grandmother liked Wheel of Fortune.
Oh,
so
okay.
That was her show. And anyway, Pinky meanwhile is trying to figure out kind of what to do. And Mr. Sultana stops by and calls him Mrs. Feldman. And
which is a reference to the previous episode where they were going under pseudonyms they were
husband
and wife.
I verified he was only in one episode before this.
Okay.
I got confused because Hulu once had it as season 2, episode 8.
Okay.
Remember when Hulu was all terrible? Hulu's better now.
Hulu's getting better.
But yeah, so he's just in that one episode before.
I saw the Mr. Feldman live to find himself, so I brought some gift to cheer you up.
I'm in the shower. You'll have to come back some other time. You may leave your present.
It's a yam. I live for you. Okay? Bye-bye!
It's like how Pinky's dressed up as
Mrs. Feldman, just having to be, I'm in the shower.
Anyway.
This is my narrative.
Sorry.
So, Mr. Sultana says, I'm just leaving you a lamb. Not a lamb, a yam. And after he leaves, Pinky goes out and gets the yam. And he says, oh, you look like Brain. He starts talking to the yam and everything. And then he's like, I wonder what Brain's doing now. But he's like, I can't figure it out now, but I can see what he's doing later because I can look into the future. So he gets the VR headset and looks into the future. And he sees, I guess I kind of jumped the gun because we hadn't seen what Brain's doing.
Yeah.
So, but that's what Pinky sees, the Ricola part. And Brain's really happy. He says, oh, Brain's happy, And, but when he goes Ricola, there's an avalanche. The snow starts coming in on him and buries him in an avalanche. So Pinky gets really upset because now he feels like he needs to go save Brain. So he gets over to wherever Brain is skiing. I don't know where he's skiing at. And tracks him down and tells Brain, you don't understand. Like, you're going to die and you're going to cause an avalanche. And, Brain's about to say Ricola.
Rico!
No, Brain! You mustn't yell that word or you'll cause a big noisy avalanche and be smooshed. I saw it, Brain. And so did Yam.
Pinky, you're babbling more than usual.
But it's true, Brain. Smooshed dead. We saw it all in the goggles.
The virtual reality goggles? But if you saw it there and the future can't be changed, then that means I am going to die in an avalanche. Pinky, hurry, get out of here. Save yourself.
No, Brain. I'd never leave you.
You can't save me.
I can't lose you again, Brain. Without you, I feel so garfunkly.
Pinky, please.
No!
Yes!
Quick, Brain, up this tree. Come on, Brain, jump!
No time, Pinky. Go on without me.
Never! Hold on, Brain!
Pinky is thinking really fast. And he's like, up the tree. And so Pinky can climb trees, apparently, but Brain can't. So he grabs Brain and lifts him up, and he scurries up the tree. And they get to the very top of the tree, and the avalanche comes, and it doesn't quite cover that part. So then they fall to the ground, and there's snow. And I guess at that point, Brain kind of decides that maybe skiing's not really for him. Go back to the lab.
Yeah, I think he says he has an epiphany, I guess, that it was he should keep trying to rule the world or something. I'll play the clip right here so we can all find out what that epiphany was.
Are you pondering what I'm pondering?
I think so, Brain. But if we had a snowmobile, wouldn't it melt before summer?
Don't you see, Pinky? I didn't die. The future can be changed. I can still fulfill my dreams, my destiny of taking over the world.
But yes, they're back in the lab, and I thought it was kind of funny that the first plan that the Brain is doing is something dealing with bacon equals pencils or pigs equal bacon or something like that. So he was even taking Pinky's ideas.
Because Pinky's a genius.
Well, he was at least genius enough to save the Brain in this one. So that was very nice. Well, there's a lot of cool moments in this. It starts off with Pinky packing up everything. And one of the things he says that he's packed is his Louis Farrakhan Calypso records. And, of course, Louis Farrakhan is not a Calypso singer. He is the leader of the Nation of Islam, which is I would say it's fair to say it's a very controversial group. Seen as very anti-Semitic, and actually has some weird ties to Scientology, which I found out recently. So, yeah, it's an interesting group of people, and Louis Farrakhan is certainly an interesting person. But they had some references here. Obviously, we talked about Jean-Claude Van Damme, who's a actor / fighter guy.
More so a fighter than an actor.
Yeah. When the brain is skiing, it played some music, and I didn't realize it until like the second or third time watching it that it sounded familiar, and it's the Wide World of Sports music. That and why would they play that? Well, there's a very famous part in that where the skier is the agony defeat, and this shows a skier crashing. So yeah, if you listen to those two music tracks, they sound similar, and I believe it is a musical reference right there.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat. The human drama of athletic competition. This is ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Good morning, students.
The yam from Mr. Sultana. Mr. Sultana actually did give yams to them in their in his previous episode as well. So this is just Mr. Sultana's thing, is that he likes giving Pinky the Brain yams. And again, another reference. It felt like it was going to a movie. This whole thing of Mr. Sultana coming to visit essentially the wife while her husband was away. Felt like is this from a movie, but I couldn't figure out what it was. But very cute scene right there. And there was also a Simon and Garfunkel reference, which Pinky and the Brain have done a couple times, where without Brain, Pinky just feels very Garfunkel-y, which was cute. But let's talk about the things that we liked about this third part. Nathan, let's start with you.
Ricola. That's it. No, that's all I had to say about that.
Just funny.
No, I really enjoyed Brain writing on the board when I saw that he was writing Pinky's idea. On the board.
I'm sorry. When you said writing on the, I thought you said writing on the board, and
I thought you said that too.
Okay. Because I was like, no, Pinky was the snowboarder. He was
he was writing on the board.
Well, yes,
he was writing on it. They were both writing on board, writing on sticks.
Pinky, by the way, had a very kind of like he was wearing that cat in a hat kind of hat as well, which was a very popular mid to late 90s fashion-y choice of cool people. Like snowboarders and stuff like that. I don't think people wear those cat in the hat hats anymore really as a fashion statement, but it was nice to see Pinky wearing that. Very 90s. Kelly, what about you?
Oh, I think I already mentioned them. Let me see. I can't think of anything else.
Good stuff. It was a different episode of Pinky and the Brain. I was glad that we watched it. So thank you, patrons, for that suggestion. And I had fun watching it. Let's go ahead and get to our Water Tower rating. Well, out of 5 water towers, how many would you give this episode of Pinky and the Brain? Nathan, let's start with you.
I'm going to give it like 4 water towers. I thought the idea to take over the world was like so-so.
Yeah.
But, I thought it was a strong segment. I liked having Paul Rudd in the episode. We got a little bit of a song, which that song's going to come back.
Yeah.
I don't know if we didn't mention, but that's a full song that Pinky sings later on called God and Narf, or what is it called?
Just Say Narf.
Just Say Narf. There we go.
It is available on YouTube. I watched the whole thing on YouTube.
Yeah, so you can see the whole thing there.
Even more Singing in the Rain references, including the part where he, in the movie where he makes the moves on a mannequin or a dummy or whatever, except this time it's Pinky and the brain is kind of sitting there as the motionless one, not reacting to things that he's doing. So it was very cute.
But yeah, I'll say 4 water towers, I think.
All right. Kelly, what about you?
I'll go with 4.5. I thought it was super cute and a very strong episode. It wasn't quite up there with like Bubba Brain or some of my favorites from the Animaniacs, but I think by far my favorite of the actual Pinky and the Brain episodes so far that we've done.
All right. And I was going to give it a 4, but yeah, I'll give it a 4.5 as well. I just think it's a very, very strong one. It had a good plot to it, I felt. And it was actually a very short episode too. It was only 20 minutes. So, it was good stuff. Nice flow of the plot, and didn't really have to do with taking over the world, more with just character exploration of their character, which was nice to see. So I liked it a lot. Thank you again for suggesting this episode, folks. Really enjoyed it. Well, let's go and get to the contact information. Nathan, where can people find you online?
Hey, Joey, I'm on Twitter, JangoFT. That's me.
All right. And Kelly, what about you?
I'm also on Twitter, Yoda Princess, YODA, pure NCSS, or email me, Kelly at BigShinyRobot.com.
All right, and as for the Animaniacast, we're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and you can join us over at our RetroZap Discord server. You can get a welcome link by going to discord.animaniacast.com. That'll take you right on over to the RetroZap Discord server. We are a proud member of the RetroZap podcast community, so you can talk to us about Animaniacs, or you can talk to anybody in the RetroZap groups about anything else pop culture. And of course, you can subscribe to the RetroZap podcast feed so you can get every single RetroZap podcast delivered right to your device for free. Also, please become a patron if you like this show. If you want to support us and get some great content, such as Creator Commentary Series with Tom Ruger, go on over today to go on over to patreon.com/Animaniacast, and you can become a patron and get some bonus audio and get some great perks. So come on over and join the fun. Well, that'll do it for today's episode. So for Nathan and Kelly, this is Joey saying good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
This podcast is not endorsed by Warner Brothers or Amblin Entertainment and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Animaniacs, Tiny Toon Adventures, Freakazoid, the Warner Brothers logo, all names, pictures, and sounds are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the Animaniacast unless otherwise indicated.
Oh, so that's it, eh? That's the thanks I get. Working double shifts just to put you through law school.
I never went to law school.
I suppose that's my fault too.